Three-judge bench will also today deliver a verdict on the ballot paper printing tender case lodged by the opposition coalition NASA. NASA moved to court challenging the award of the tender to the Dubai-based printing firm Al Ghurair, accusing the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission of flouting standard procurement procedures. NASA also holds that Al Ghurair executives have close ties with Jubilee top officials, and this, according to the opposition, will compromise the credibility of the forthcoming general election. IEBC has asked the court to dismiss the case, saying NASA's accusations are baseless. Should IEBC lose the case, the commission may have to reschedule the August polls with just 31 days to go. NASA has already said they are ready to contest the verdict by Justices George Odunga, Joel Ngugi, and J.J. Mativo. All right, Timothy Otieno is live for us as well from the Milimani Law Courts. Timothy, a good morning. Are the judges in court?
Well, the judges are not in court. We are aware that there was a judges' conference happening in Mombasa, and this particular case will be taking place this afternoon at 2:30, where the three-judge bench, led by, of course, Judge Joseph, John Mativo, George Odunga, and Joel Ngugi, will be expected to make a ruling on the controversial procurement of a tender given to Al Ghurair, the Dubai-based firm that is expected to print 120 million ballot papers ahead of the August 8th general elections. Now, the importance and the gravity of today's ruling is so key to all sides participating in this particular case. The opposition, NASA, determined to ensure that that tender is revoked and a fresh one is conducted as soon as possible. But the IEBC, Al Ghurair, as well as the Attorney General, who presented their submissions last week Friday, insist that if the ruling goes NASA's way, then it is highly likely that the country will not head to the polls come August the 8th, because there may not be sufficient time to procure a new tender for ballot printing in the country. So this is a case that has a lot of ramifications, and it could lead to a constitutional crisis if the three judges decide to go in the way in which NASA has been arguing its case. Now, what happens if indeed that takes place? It means then that a caretaker government sets in, because the Constitution is very clear that the elections have to be held on the second Tuesday of the 8th month of the year. If that happens and the court says that a new process and a fresh process has to begin, it means that President Uhuru Kenyatta will have to proceed as the head of state, but he will be under Article 134 of the Constitution, and a caretaker government will be in place. So he will be the head of state, but simply he will have his hands tied behind his back, because he will not be able to make appointments and govern effectively as the head of state. So 2:30 is the set date. Very high-stakes case. Submissions were issued last week on Friday by the opposition National Super Alliance, Al Ghurair, that had its lawyer present in court, as well as the Attorney General, who was an advisor to the court, and insisting that if indeed this case was to be heard, the judges should bear in mind that it could have constitutional ramifications. Sophia.
Right, Tim, and speaking of the submissions that were made in court last week, one of the areas we saw the various counsel emphasize on is that the judges perhaps could consider having the presidential ballot papers, then that tender given to a different firm, as the printing of the same is yet to begin. We know that the rest of the positions, the printing is already ongoing. So that is one of the likely scenarios we're likely to see play out, isn't it?
Well, that is one of the likely scenarios, and that's where many believe a constitutional crisis may be looming, because the elections are held in one day. All 6 positions for member of the county assembly, women representative, member of parliament, senate, governor, and the presidency are supposed to be conducted on the same day. if you indeed cancel the tender for the presidential ballots and continue with the other 5 positions, then it means then a different date has to be set for elections specifically for the presidency. And the Constitution has not actually foreseen such a scenario, and that's what is bringing that really constitutional crisis and back and forth, and that's what the court will now have to try and move its way around and try and solve this in a manner that will be satisfactory to all. But as it is, both sides of this constitutional crisis, that is the opposition, NASA, as well as the IEBC, have alluded to the fact that if indeed the ruling does not go their way, then they could go to a higher court and move perhaps to the Court of Appeal or even to the Supreme Court. So we could see this drag out for the next couple of days. And remember, it's only 31 days to the general elections. Is this what the country is willing to undergo, so close to a general elections, in a high-stakes general elections, as a matter of fact? And considering that this is a country that has really held the electoral body in high regard and in high suspicion, and all political players in these particular elections want nothing but a smooth, credible, and fair elections. So that is those are the questions that the 3 judges will most likely be answering this afternoon here at this particular courts. Indeed, all angles, all sides of this case will be keen to ensure that the court rules in their favor, but we all know that it cannot be a sweet day for everybody. The big question will then be, after the ruling, will we be having somebody move to appeal this particular case, either the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court? And that is where perhaps all of this could go, if indeed it doesn't go either way in this particular ruling, Sophia.
All right, many thanks, Timothy Otieno. If I had a chopper, I'd have gotten one for you to quickly get you to Mombasa. But of course, we have our teams there, as it appears, both matters on the ballot printing tender and the presidential debate. The rulings will be delivered from the Mombasa court, owing to that judges' conference that had been taking place there. So we'll keep you posted on the developments on that end. Now,